This is Force 13 Live. Tropical Storm Fay is about to make landfall, and that's why we're back on the air. It's expected to make landfall probably in the next 10 minutes. It is currently 5 miles away from the coast of New Jersey, 8 miles east-northeast of Atlantic City. I'm again joined by the team, which for this hour consists of Ike, Elliot, Isaac, David, Michael. I always see Cyclone Freak because that's your username, so I always stall there for a minute whilst I think of what your actual name is. Kay and Strat. Good afternoon to you all.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Let's look back at the latest camera out of Atlantic City, Isaac. Is it calming down a little bit because it's very near the center now?
Haven't been paying attention much to it. Still looks about the same as it looked like earlier in the stream. Yeah. And again, this is off of Atlantic City, New Jersey, just off the coast of downtown there. I'm assuming it's situated off of a pier, probably up maybe 50 feet or so in the air.
Faye is now 4 miles from landfall. So it's getting closer all the time.
And it looks like the tide's going out too.
Yes, it does.
Surprisingly enough, I'm sure the team is as well surprised. Another recon aircraft has actually just taken off and is currently en route to the storm. It won't make it because it's all coming from Biloxi, Mississippi, I believe. But I guess they're gonna make another post landfall pass, I guess. So we'll see what they find with there.
That was in the plan of the day. I think they were scheduling one flight for today, and I think one more flight for tomorrow, early tomorrow morning, if I'm not mistaken, unless they're going to cancel that one, which they might.
I don't know, but they've suddenly, unexpectedly, just come up with another mission that's currently en route to the storm.
Yeah, this one was in what time is it in UTC right now? Mind I ask?
8:12 p.m.
12. Yeah, it was supposed to take off, I think, at 10, so it's a little bit early.
8:12 p.m. I said, Isaac.
Oh, well, yeah. But one was forecast for today, and then they have another one for tomorrow, but I'm assuming they're probably going to cancel that one, seeing if this storm makes landfall in the next 3 hours.
Yeah, I imagine that they're not going to hold it, as they'll probably just as easily be able to do land observations, so there wouldn't be a reason for it to really have tomorrow, I guess.
Yeah, of course. The National Hurricane Center will be updating on this storm as they are scheduled to do so at the top of the hour. So that's going to be interesting to see. They are often quite early. I'm not sure how early they will be this time because they're doing 3-hourly updates, so it might not be. But it'll be very interesting to see what they come out with their next advisory. How strong do we really think this is right now?
I'd say it's probably down to about 45 knots. Just my educated guess based on satellite imagery, but I could be wrong. I'm to what everyone thinks about it.
ATCF had 45 knots for a second, but it got upped back to 50, I think.
Oh, right.
Are they really bringing it back up again?
I've not been looking myself, so I don't know.
Take a look.
Well, the
I
ATCF
don't understand
the
why.
3 hour.
There's like buoy readings out on eastern New Jersey and south Long Island that would support that at this point, to be honest with you.
That is a bit
Because
weird.
those winds certainly aren't occurring over land. I can tell you that much right now. There might be tropical storm force winds occurring on land. There probably is actually, based on what we've seen. But in general, the strongest winds aren't on shore. So unless there's buoys supporting 60 miles an hour, I don't know why they go with it, to be honest.
Well, as soon as we get confirmation that Faye has made landfall, you'll see a big red bar at the bottom coming up with breaking news. But we've not got that just yet because landfall is still probably 10, maybe 15 minutes away.
Yep, I mean, it is coming shortly, though, and the general impacts aren't going to change just because the storm's inland. Through the next 24 hours, much of the Northeast is still going to be dealing with generally more inclement conditions to keep track of and make sure that you're just generally prepared for.
Yeah. The primary hazards will be dangerous driving conditions due to surface water.
Well, we saw the roads before, and people were still zipping along.
I wouldn't advise doing that myself.
You would say that. You just passed your test yesterday.
I mean, as a nearby resident to where some of those people are driving, I will concur with Kay and say that he's correct, that driving at this time period
Of course.
is not the most wise thing to do. You know, I'll say that right now. However, you know, some people decide to ignore certain warnings sometimes. You know, it's not as severe of a situation where it's life-threatening, especially because, you know, tropical storm force winds sustained haven't really been taking too much there, but it does make it harder to drive, and you really shouldn't be out on the roads during a situation like this.
Well, driving alone, let alone some of these cars doing up to 70 miles an hour down interstates, which is actually pretty dangerous with that amount of wind coming in from that direction.
Right. You risk hydroplaning and losing control of your vehicle, which is really something that causes a lot of accidents during these tropical cyclones. That's where a lot of the indirect impacts come from.
A lot of the injuries are from car accidents.
Yeah, so if you're going out on the road, be smart, drive slow, and stay safe.
So it's a matter of minutes until we imagine that the landfall will be taking place. Its current motion is, let's see, I think it might be, it is still pretty much due north. And if it keeps going due north, then it will make landfall 10 miles further north. And at its current speed, that's, how long is that?
So we're looking maybe around 4:30 local time, 4:30 to 4:35 local time.
I'm sorry, I got that wrong. It's closer than 10 miles. It's 6 miles if it went straight north. So it's moved 4 miles in 10 minutes. So 15 minutes is the maximum amount of time. And if it did jog to the west just a little bit, it is now just 3 miles off the coast of North Brigantine State Natural Area. Which I imagine is exactly what it says it is.
Just a bat, I presume.
God.
Let's go back to the webcam. Isaac, who's out there? What are they doing?
That's not... That's mine.
Isaac's not here, but we've got his webcam at least. This is Atlantic City right now. And actually, let me just confirm here. Yes, I can confirm that the center of the storm has reached its closest point to Atlantic City and is now moving away again. Its closest point was at about 6 miles. It's now 7 miles away, so it's moving away now.
And fortunately for that general location, that means that conditions will likely start to improve in the very near future. You know, winds will start to die down as the southwestern side is the weakest quadrant for winds, not having tropical storm force sustained winds. Most of the rain's already gone, although, you know, there is the possibility of a couple lighter rain bands to, you know, come around just with the general rotation of the storm. But, you know, most of the general convection associated that was pushed on shore earlier today is a weakening as it continues to move mostly north, and continuing to slowly detach from the main center of the storm. Most of it's now over Pennsylvania and moving into upstate New York, and coming away from New York City, Long Island, and Connecticut, even though the center of the storm is still all the way down towards south central New Jersey.
Yeah, local residents in Atlantic City could actually see clear skies by later tonight.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised. The local weather forecast, even up here in southwest Connecticut, shows by tomorrow morning we'll have some, you know, partly cloudy or sun peeking out.
Never mind later tonight. Looking at Isaac's... Oh, there's me. Looking at Isaac's... You can see me if you like to, but I thought it'd be more interesting to look at the webcam. The clouds will probably clear in about 10 minutes.
Yeah, for Atlantic City, wouldn't be surprised.
Something like that.
There is the chance for some, you know, rain later in the day tomorrow that isn't in these areas, that isn't necessarily associated with Fay. I'm pretty sure there's supposed to be something else coming through, but at least for the early parts tomorrow and tonight, for areas that are having the center pass through them right now, you could see most of the worst conditions basically gone within the next 3 hours or so, which is pretty fortunate. People are more concerned over this potentially being a very significant, threat, but some of it was over sensationalization, just not having a tropical cyclone make landfall here in almost a decade. We've been fortunate to skirt by with mostly minimal impacts. I think New Jersey, pretty safe to say, has been the state hit the hardest by this in the U.S., at least while as a tropical cyclone, with more localized flooding and heavier winds along their coastlines, and a bit of impacts on Delaware as well, when the rain bands were more associated with stronger winds than they are right now.
That's an interesting question. Do you think this storm will be remembered? I think it'll be remembered most for being the earliest 6th storm of the season.
Yeah, probably.
This probably won't even be remembered in particular as a system that broke a landfalling streak for the tri-state area of a tropical cyclone, just because, sure, it was, hyped so much today and yesterday, especially last night and earlier in the day today, like early morning.
Oh, it's been hyped for
But
days.
it really turned out, there's obviously some damages that occur and stuff, particularly in the coastal areas, some of the flash flooding that occurs. But if we're talking in a broad sense of total damage over a wide area that has like 20 million people, we're not really talking about that much. This is just a typical, nor'easter in terms of land impacts, weaker than a typical nor'easter that we'd see sometimes in the winter and early spring. So it's important for us to cover it, of course, and keep people informed, make sure that people are staying safe and paying attention. But, we deal with stuff like this a lot, really, up here. Just not always with a warm core system. So
this is the best I can offer you right now as to where the center of this storm is. If it doesn't break on me. You get that latest image. That really is the center of the storm right there. That's how close it is now. It is literally just off the coast. That's just a couple of miles or less. So that's how close we are to a landfall right now.
And what are those green areas? Are they bits of rain?
Just little bits of rain, very little.
So we could be looking at a landfall around 5, perhaps maybe 5 p.m. local time?
No, we're talking about a few minutes.
Oh, really? So maybe 4:30, 4:35 local time?
About 4:30 at the latest, I would think.
I mean, the question is then whether or not the NHC is going to put out a brief early advisory saying that the storm's been
They'll do a
landfall.
landfall update, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, because this morning they did the special advisory thing. I think it was around 7:25 or 7:30.
That's right. Yeah, to extend the warning.
When they extended the warning, and they had the regular intermediate advisory, so they might do, or they probably will actually, a bit of just a brief update that has made landfall, and they'll do their regular report at the top of the hour, which is standard for any active cyclone for them to have a storm update at 5 p.m. Eastern.
Yep, I get updates every few minutes here over being able to get a fix on the storm's current location. So in a minute or two, I'll have the latest, and well, we'll see whether it gets the landfall or not. It's obviously inevitable, but this is probably the most interesting part of the entire stream, I would imagine.
Definitely.
Probably.
Still, a lot of rain bands moving through, but I hear that the worst of it is probably over.
Definitely.
Say with some trepidation.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way to say, oh, that's not accurate. The worst of it isn't over for, southern New Jersey. All you really have to do is look at the satellite imagery, using the infrared to get a view of where the convection is. All the main convections almost 100% out of New Jersey now. There's only a little bit of dwindling left in the very northern of the state, and a tiny bit of curl around back in the central southern part of the state. But that's impacting very small areas. The most winds right now are impacting central, getting towards northern coastal New Jersey. But the very southern areas of New Jersey already out of tropical storm force winds, and that's just going to continue as the storm keeps moving north. A lot of the Northeast is already through what you could consider the worst of the storm.
And the latest, as of 23 minutes past, it is 2 miles offshore.
Yep, so we're getting to the end game, really, to say the least. I mean, the only other thing you could say really is it's actually maintaining slight convection over the Gulf Stream well to the east and south of the center. But as we were talking about when we were doing our prior live commentary segment, that massive convection is almost completely dwindling by the time it gets to Massachusetts and Rhode Island. Although I will note, it might actually give those areas more rainfall than parts of Long Island might end up receiving from Fay if it continues to stream up that way, because even though it's weaker when it gets there, it's still giving a tiny amount of rain there. You can see some of the convection over Rhode Island and Massachusetts now if related to Fay.
Yeah. So, have the rainfall predictions changed at all?
I don't think they have, actually. Well, they verified pretty well from what I'm seeing.
Yep.
General totals of up to 6 inches, actually. Some of the highest totals I'm seeing are sort of south of Philadelphia, actually, from the Delaware. I mean, the Mount Holly radar. I'm gonna check to see what other sort of totals we might be seeing.
I mean, that fits pretty well with what they were saying last night and even today. Although I will say maybe the amount of rainfall in southwestern Connecticut, at least the part I am northward, so from basically the Fairfield area on east, was potentially a bit exaggerated.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get so much because it's moving inland now.
Rain and some gusty winds. We'll get some more heavy sustained winds later, but those are going to be without any rainfall really.
And I'm not sure they're going to be particularly bad for you. Maybe.
No, it probably won't be.
30 knot gusts, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, we could get TS gusts. We might get TS winds just because they do still extend a good chunk out from the center. So even if the convection is completely devoid, we could still get TS winds with nothing else with it.
I don't think you will. It's getting that look of a ghost of a storm.
Yeah, that's true. It could just capitulate on itself pretty soon, though. To be fair,
I think it has.
Yeah, I mean we're still getting a couple of rain bands here. It's actually raining out here right now, but I think instead of getting 2 to 4, like the earlier graphics were indicating from the NHC for much of Fairfield County, Connecticut, we're probably going to get closer to maybe 2 as a maximum with for localized areas for Fairfield County in southwest Connecticut, and then locally up to 1. To be fair. Although we have had periods of heavier rain overall, it's just not been significant at all. No flash flooding here, fortunately, in my area in Connecticut. I know there was some, further south in New York and New Jersey earlier, but that just hasn't really carried over into a lot of southern New England, like the initial expectation was leading people to believe.
Yeah, and that dwindling convection, by the time it gets to more central New England, like Vermont, New Hampshire, it's just going to be showers, if that. It'll probably be clouds by the time it gets further north, just because of current trends. I think we're being led to believe that it's just going to keep dwindling at this rate.
Yeah, and for New England in general, this is just a very fortunate trend to see develop. If because the convection formed mostly when the system was forming on the northeastern quadrant, overnight into today, it's rotated mostly to the northwestern quadrant right now. Yep.
Look, visibility increasing now at Atlantic City webcam there.
Yep, wouldn't shock me at all, and that's what's happening right now as the storm starts to get very close and begin to pass.
Yeah.
But if the general blob of convection was south of where the center of circulation formed, then maybe you'd have more concern today for New England, as that would have rotated around towards the east and to the north of the center. But because it came in on the northeastern quadrant, it's rotated around mostly to the northwest side. So the worst impacts on rainfall right now are going to be within Pennsylvania, moving through upstate New York with some localized showers and maybe some brief heavier amounts, if anything else sporadically develops along the coastal regions of southwestern New England and parts of the mid-Atlantic as well, particularly New Jersey and Long Island, with the slight potential for some rain from this band if it streaks into Massachusetts and Rhode Island a little bit. But I mean, most of the threats gone from this storm already, and that's very fortunate to say.
Yes.
Don't take that for granted earlier in the year, especially because sometimes we don't get these situations where we can just say, "Oh, it's over." This early for the most part, we don't have to worry about it too much anymore. We don't always.
You can't really say that now. But Hank has just informed me on Discord that this would be the first July landfall in New Jersey in modern records.
Wow.
Huh. Very special indeed, then.
There we go.
This is
And
a
I think
once
Ike
in
has
a
some imagery
lifetime
that we
event,
could
then,
look at,
according to
Nathan.
modern records.
Ah,
So
yes.
you're seeing something.
We're looking at this imagery as well, which does come with sound, and you can see the wind blowing there. Where's this?
Seaside High.
So
It's in New Jersey, I think.
yeah, it is. So conditions, well, windy there, and can't really get a grasp of how much rain is falling on that picture, but interesting to look at nonetheless. Some sustained winds blowing there, but it is hard to get a handle on just how strong they are. It's also becoming quite hard to get a handle on where exactly the centre of this storm is. We think it's about 1.5 miles offshore.
Yeah, but I mean, you got a lot of metavorticities and little circulations within that kind of broader level, so it's a bit harder to identify exactly where the precise center is.
Radar
we
can
can't-
help with that, and I think
That's true.
you look at radar, and actually radar would suggest that it's probably a mile away from the barrier island that has Beach Haven. I don't know the name of the island, unfortunately, because I'm not familiar with the area, but that location looks like it's going to get landfall any minute.
And that would make it the first fully tropical landfall in New Jersey since, I believe, Irene, because Irene made a landfall near Brigantine in 2011.
Yeah, this is
Sandy
the
was
first,
post-tropical, so
This should be the first fully tropical landfall in the tri-state as a whole since at least then. You know, Irene and I was too young of a I'm too much of a Gen Zer to know anything before Irene, to be honest. But you know, for a lot of people, it's been a good chunk of their life without a fully tropical system making landfall. You know, even if you count Sandy, it was post-tropical when it made landfall, but you know, we felt the effects of it as if it was just a giant storm anyways, so it doesn't really matter too much. It's been almost 8 years anyways, so it's been a good time period up here without too much tropical activity, directly at least, and that drought's coming to an end.
And the terrible wait for this landfall is about to come to an end as well. I've been here all day.
It's been agonizingly slow watching this storm.
Well, no, I think we're getting a bit soft in recent years, aren't we? We've not been waiting that long, to be fair.
No,
it's been less than a day.
confined ways to busy yourself.
Yeah, I guess the difference is this has been a relatively minimal system in the grand scheme of things. That's fortunately come out to be less significant to land than what initial expectations might have held, and especially the general media sensationalization. So that makes it a bit harder for us to be as enthusiastic with coverage when most of the primary threat has already passed, and we're just waiting for it to start, moving into land a little bit. I'm sorry, I gotta say it how it is. Even though we love tracking tropical cyclones, we love broadcasting, sharing the information, keeping people informed, sometimes it's a bit harder to keep all the energy and vibes going when it's this kind of storm.
It's only Strout that ever talks about energy and vibes, though, isn't it?
Hey, it's all about the good vibes. Someone did just say, though, hey, at least it's not Dorian. And that is very, very true. Absolutely.
Yeah. I would be interested to know how this making landfall in the northeast would affect the odds of a more significant landfall later in the season, Nathan.
I don't think it does. But
Yeah.
plainly, I don't think it does. I think the chances are slightly elevated. But you're just as likely to get a landfall as you are not, as we've seen so many times in the past, so many storms that have recurved after looking like, very close to striking somewhere. Some of them make it all the way, though.
And to be fair, it's better to have it get close and just miss than to actually have it come on shore, but...
We're still not sure on exactly where the centre of this system is.
Do you want to bring on screen what you do to like really map the exact location? Because I know sometimes people really enjoy seeing that.
We're looking at the satellite. We're looking at the radar. And unfortunately, I can't show you at the minute, but on my other screen, I'm just drawing distances, marking out a center fix. It still looks like a mile or two from land at this point, but the radar suggests that maybe it's happened.
Yeah. I mean, regardless, though, like we've been talking about, the general landfall is more of a symbolic thing than anything.
It is.
Because, like we've said, the impacts are displaced significantly from the center to the north and now west more than just north. So anything from the south isn't really seeing anything. So it's more of just, oh, well, when we're looking up a Wikipedia page in a couple years, where's it going to say the storm made landfall exactly? And
You've
I mean,
plugged them twice now. Are you getting paid for this?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. It's just when you type in a certain storm name, the article from Wikipedia will come up first. Okay, just leave it be. Leave it be. But I mean, a good chunk of stop. A good chunk of the center of circulation is already over land, though, so it's really only a matter of a couple minutes, to be fair to
Yeah. And the worst effects were definitely with the highest rainfall totals earlier on in the day. There was an area in Delaware south of Lewes where they had a total of 9.31 inches in a 5-hour period.
Yep. I mean, when we're talking about these tropical storms in general, if you get hit by the absolute peak winds, which fortunately generally stayed offshore with this system, then you might be worried about some localized wind damage. But typically with tropical storm strength systems, our main threat's going to be heavier rainfall totals and localized flash flooding, and that's generally been what's happened. But to the large population centers, to a lesser degree than what we were initially assuming yesterday, which is very fortunate to be able to say.
Any moment now. Been saying that for a while, but I really think this is going to become...
Any moment for 10 minutes.
I mean, National Hurricane Center at this point, they'll probably wait to do a full advisory. Stranger things have happened, though. Didn't they once do an update statement 5 minutes before an advisory or something like that?
Yeah, I mean,
that was for Lorenzo to Cat 5.
Oh, God. No, that was 50 minutes before. But I'm sure they've done it like 5 minutes before the advisory at some point.
Or 5 minutes afterwards.
Yeah, if they have to correct something, usually.
I mean, they might just make the full advisory public, a little bit earlier than they normally would.
Well, they sometimes do that. I mean, sometimes it's out by now. Sometimes they put it out a full half hour before. Not today.
I guess the other thing, we're probably going to be alive a bit longer to see is what is happening to...
But at this point, I can guarantee you that the National Hurricane Center will say that it's made landfall on their next bulletin, whenever that is.
Yeah. And for those wondering about any other active systems, I think the Christina update's coming out right now as well. So the forecast advisory is out.
What intensity have they put that one at then?
70 miles an hour,
70 miles an hour.
Not expected to become a hurricane, expected to just weaken from here. The forecast discussion isn't out yet, but the forecast advisory is. And that shows it still at 70 miles an hour, 993 millibars. For those wanting the first hurricane of the year in the Western Hemisphere, I am sorry. You've been disappointed yet again by the Eastern Pacific.
It's doing nothing but disappointing people this year.
Yep. Look, the amount of hurricanes this year is not increasing, or the amount of projected ones in the near future is not increasing, it's decreasing out there in the East Pac.
Right. David, any thoughts? No. Not at this point.
No, not at this point. Sorry, I had to unmute myself. But this the opportunity to just say thank you to those that have been viewing on the Facebook. We're currently live on our main page, and I have a developing a weather system over here on the east coast of Australia, Nathan. I know it's not related, but something caught my eye yesterday after I was streaming, and but Sadly, well, I won't say sadly. This has just been what guys, a rain and wind event with Fay.
Fay has made landfall.
It's literally teetering on the edge of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of verification at this moment, you know.
Hmm.
And
Well-
even if it doesn't make landfall in its exact location, that just means, like, you know, a couple minutes later it's
We're
going to make
just waiting
landfall.
for one more set of images here.
And then the NHC advisory.
Well,
much.
we'll call it if we see it, but we've just not quite got it yet. But it's extremely
Yeah.
close, I can tell you that.
Well, something that's technically related to the tropics is that I have clear skies now because the remnants of Edward have finally cleared. It's been rain all day yesterday and
Actually,
today.
that's the case here as well.
Oh, that's great.
That's me and Kay shoehorning our little tropical discussion of our own.
Well,
Yep.
more tropical than David's Australian system.
Oh, absolutely. I think
Yeah,
we've got a
but-
bit of rivalry going on here.
Nathan the Bureau saying a possible East Coast low. And that's a little bit unusual for this time of year.
Not a subtropical system.
Yeah, it's going to impact the eastern parts of Victoria.
Will we
Has to not
see
do
a
anything
South
tropical.
Pacific storm before the next Western Pacific storm? Comment below what you think.
Yes.
What?
Let's see if we can light up the chat a little bit right now. I know we're just waiting for the last seconds. Will there be a South Pacific cyclone before there's any storm in the Western Pacific? It's a yes or no answer.
You've got
Let's
to be
light up the chat.
I think the answer to that is
Yes or no? Let's go.
I think that's a very clear no. The West Pacific will start up at some point, and it will be before the Southern Hemisphere season begins.
God, they're all
You
saying
seem to be
no.
getting a lot of no's.
Someone said yes.
Hey.
Right. There's two people that said yes.
Someone said Ness, which is, I guess, a yes
That-
and no.
This is more split than I thought it would be. I'm not gonna lie.
There's a couple maybes.
The distributor from the Philippines is saying maybe. Oh, that's incredible. Oh, I love it when you guys. I love it when we can interact with the chat and ask a question. Just get a
Oh, don't
flurry
you
of-
just. Strat loves it. Loves
Oh,
it so
dear.
much that that's
I
all
love
you ever
interacting
see,
with you.
Strat
It's
bombarding you with
absolutely great.
chat.
Just interacting
Well-
with the community and keeping people informed is absolutely brilliant. So
Something that I think is very interesting is that while we've been having Fay in the southeast part of New York State, in the upper New York State in Buffalo, they had record high temperature ever today.
Really?
huh?
Yeah, I've cited some interesting weather reports from the States since we've been live, and I agree.
Hit 97 in Buffalo today.
Wow, that is burning. Is it supposed to be
As
that
bad
hot
as
there?
here.
Because around the coastal areas, it's supposed to get a lot warmer this weekend. You know, the tropical system is making it a bit cooler. Today it was like as high as 75 in my region today, but by the end of this weekend, we're going to be close to 90s here, which is close to 20. It's close to 10 degrees above average. I'm sorry for this time of year.
Heat indexes were reaching over 110 today. So
Everybody just
I found a live camera from Beach Haven here on my screen. If you want to look at it, it's only going to be up for like about another minute or two because for some reason they put in ads like every 2 minutes that you view this camera.
Oh,
So view it while you can. Yeah, I don't know why. But this is from Beach Haven right now live.
hold on a minute, just try and get that. There it is.
Oh, okay, there you go. Now the ad came
That
up.
didn't last very long.
Ad came up.
Oh no!
Well, here's Atlantic City again, but I'll get that
Absolutely.
fixed.
Someone asked the CDPS rating. The CDPS rating right now has to undoubtedly be a 1 for future rainfall projections.
Strat, got to interrupt. The storm has made landfall. Fay has made landfall in New Jersey. This is breaking news. The storm has struck in southern New Jersey, several miles north of Atlantic City. The landfall location is...
Drum roll.
Somewhere.
Drum roll.
Just south of Beach Haven. The landfall location. That's occurred at about 44 minutes past the hour.
Oh, that's brilliant.
What on earth is that?
It's the ad. I'm trying to skip the.
Isaac.
I'm trying to skip.
Get past it. I gotta go, quick.
I'm trying to skip the ads and stuff. I don't know why this page does this, but it's the only camera that's in Beach Haven.
For God's sake.
It's the only live camera in Beach Haven that I could find, and it has like these random ads every like minute or two for some reason, because I don't know why. So like you can only view it for like a minute, and then after that it goes like, okay, let me show you
storm
an
warning
ad.
has been discontinued south of Great Egg Inlet, New Jersey, including southern Delaware Bay. The update's out from the National Hurricane Center. 50 miles per hour winds with a pressure of 998 millibars. That's the latest from National Hurricane Center. 50 miles per hour. They weaken it to 40 miles per hour in 12 hours and down to 30 miles per hour in 24 hours.
There you go.
Will
It should
you
be.
quit with that?
I had to mute it. I have to mute it when the ads go ongoing. I can't do it when it's paused.
National Hurricane Center's location, they've put down 39.5, 74.3, which is is it? Oh, I can't tell. That's not a landfall from the National Hurricane Center. That is literally half a mile from land on the National Hurricane Center's update. So we'll see if they put in the wording that it's made landfall. Yes, they have. They are saying that it has made landfall. So it is correct to say that it has made landfall at this point because the National Hurricane Center says so. Just northeast of Atlantic City, New Jersey. Heavy rainfall and gusty winds. Moving into northern New Jersey, southeastern New York, and Long Island.
Wait, I got the live camera. But, oh, okay, never mind. I'll just go to Atlantic City.
Yeah, just do that.
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
There you have it. The saga is coming to a close, it seems.
Yes.
Fay has made landfall in New Jersey. The impacts are main impacts at least, are way to the north of it, but parts of coastal New Jersey could be getting tropical storm force sustained winds right now. Anything south of the landfall spot is mostly in the clear, other than some slightly inclement conditions, but they should be good to go and having a nice time outside tomorrow.
Yeah,
I'm able to see the city skyline a lot better on the Atlantic City camera than before. I will say that.
Oh, yeah, market improvement.
And I don't know if it's just me, but I think the seas have calmed down just a tad.
They definitely have.
Yeah.
Visibility's really improved. You can actually see the high line.
Oh yeah.
Well, I guess that's that.
yes. Well, I have the discussion up from the latest advisory.
Please discuss.
And they say that Fay's structure is looking less tropical this afternoon.
No kidding.
It's lacking deep convection and consists entirely of low to mid-level clouds in the central circulation. The strongest winds are only found in the strong band of convection to the northeast of the centre. And they note that while they show it being at 35 knots in 12 hours, that will only be out to sea.
Yep. Was it the 12-hour graphic? Those winds should probably be either out south of Long Island or in the Long Island Sound, impacting parts of Long Island and southwestern Connecticut at that 12-hour mark. You know, just generally the storm wrapping up. But you know, it's definitely been one of the most interesting storms we've seen in a while in terms of its formation and track. Very rare to have a landfall in this area in July. You know, one of the first times in recorded history, as we mentioned earlier in the stream. So it's even if the impact's been more minimal, the actual event itself has been one for the history books, you could say.
So Strat's probably going to go back to dabbing.
I mean, I'm not on camera right now. Why would I do that?
Good. We're finishing this stream. We're out of here. Fay has made landfall. Wind speed's down to 50 miles per hour. So it is weakening, and as you heard, most of the strong winds are well offshore. You can join our Discord server on the left-hand side of your screen there. The link's underneath this video if you're interested in joining the community, which is ever growing. And you can also follow us on social media, Facebook and Twitter. Search Force13, all in text. Strat?
Yep. All the outlets in the description below. If you found this coverage helpful, informative at all, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Leave a like on the stream in the last few seconds. It really does help us out. We've got a lot of other things, our other channels, as well as, merchandise, Ultimate Fan products, stuff like that with the join button below. Seriously, everyone, thank you so much for the support over the past about 24 hours or so. It's been a ride, but we thank you all for watching with us.
Of course Strat would say that. Thanks to everyone in the team who's been part of our stream today and yesterday. Quite a few people have gone through the doors. In this particular hour, we had Ike, Elliot, Isaac, David, Michael, Kay, and Strat, and of course myself. But until next time, we'll be heading off now. Tropical Weather Bulletin will be coming up as normal at the usual time, 8 PM Eastern Time, that is, midnight UTC every night. Until then, that's all from us, and what day is it?
The 10th.
When's that premiere?
11.
Tomorrow night. Okay, good. There's a premiere tomorrow night. You can take a look at what happened in the season just gone in the South Pacific. And the Australian region will follow pretty soon, hopefully.
Looking forward to that.
And David is, of course, looking forward to that. So, we'll be back again some other time. We'll leave this running for a few more minutes before concluding the stream, which has been going on for nearly 21 hours. That's pretty much how long Fay's been going on for. Good night from us and the team. We'll see you again soon.
Good night. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Have a good night.